Hi, everyone. We are live here on YouTube at my channel, Lisa Florida. And today I am giving the fourth quarter real estate updates. And my good friend, Mark Ledlow, the host of Fearless Mindset podcast, was kind enough to sit in on this update and represent the questions of maybe what most Americans are thinking right now. So Mark, if you'll just allow me for a few minutes, I just want to give everyone an update. So I'm currently the host of the 8 Billion podcast. Lots of you guys on YouTube are probably following me because of my stories of inspiration. However, it has always been my intention to actually upload a lot of my real estate experience and education here, as I come from a specialized and expertise division of residential real estate. So just to provide you, because I have not, and I was telling Mark this, I have not uploaded any videos on that. So this would probably be great start since I'm doing fourth quarter. So I have been in residential real estate for over, gosh, I don't know, since 1998. So if you do the math, 22, 23 years, sometimes you just want to stop counting if you've been in it that long. I've seen many cycles of real estate. But particularly in 2008, we had the mortgage crisis, which was also known as the mortgage meltdown. And my family, which is, in real estate, the Myriad Group, we represented 5 banks in the foreclosure industry as this foreclosure agents. So one of our first banks was Countrywide Home Loans, which now you guys know today as Bank of America. We also represented Wells Fargo, Premier Asset Services, Green River Capital, IndyMac Bank. What else were ours? First Option Asset Management. So I have got a wide array of experiences, everything from watching people default on their loans, going through modifications, down to going into short sales, being in pre-foreclosure with a notice of default. And then, of course, unfortunately, in some cases, and this happened back in the 2008 to 2013 mortgage crash, a lot of homes foreclosed. So today we are here, and Mark has been, like I said, kind enough to actually represent and ask the questions that maybe most of you guys have, as the mortgage moratorium ended on September 30th. The Biden administration had extended it from, I think, September 1st down to September 30th. But I think before that, I think we were looking at the mortgage moratorium initially to, I think, have expired at the end of 2020, if I stand correct. But then Biden's administration came in and they extended it to September 2021. So here we are today. And Mark, if you will be so kind as to go ahead and start asking me any of the questions that would probably represent most of the Americans, or those that have been in forbearance, or some of the questions that have come up lately, especially what's been happening in the news.
Well, Liza, thanks for having me on, first and foremost, and congratulations on your podcast. Liza, Florida is now in the top 5% globally on listen notes, folks. Top 5%. And she's been at it for less than a year. So congratulations, Lisa, on that big accomplishment. I know you're trying to inspire people with the 8 Billion podcast, and you're also doing your real estate podcast here soon, because we do have issues. We have the moratorium, we have foreclosures, and it's going to get scary here soon. I don't think it's going to be as significant as a Facebook outage and Instagram outage today that we just had. Everybody lost their minds and they couldn't even access their businesses. But Liza, the question I have, I'm sure that everybody else has out there, is how bad is it going to be? 2008 was I remember 2008 like it was yesterday. I mean, big, huge hedge funds went out of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
People jumped off cliffs, and people committed suicide over 2008. Do you think 2008 will be as significant in 2022?
Well, me personally, with what's just out there right now, and given the current state of the real estate market, as you guys know, we came off of a really great run. A lot of people didn't anticipate that. A lot of people, especially myself, once the pandemic hit, I knew that there was going to be some type of, I knew that it would trigger some type of market, to say the least, right? Because what it is called is, it's an unforeseen circumstance. This was absolutely unforeseen. So as you guys know, and this was not even just the United States, it's global. Many people lost their jobs. Many people lost their businesses. People switched professions. Everyone had to pivot to some degree. And then just to keep everyone safe, they, of course, they created the forbearance programs, which would actually, allow homeowners who were in distressed situations or, or in situations where they weren't earning an income to actually go into a forbearance program, which this was called, like, I believe it's the COVID-19 or forbearance program, which would, in essence, it allowed people to, or what they were saying was to tack on their mortgage payments to the very end. So they would not need to make their mortgage payments, but whenever that program, the forbearance program ended, they would actually end up tacking it on, and people were under the impression that they would just continue to make their mortgage payments. Now, that isn't the case. So I'm not saying that it's going to be as bad as the 2008 market, but what we don't know are the numbers that are going to come out. So let me give you just some statistics. Prior to the pandemic, there were about 300 to 400,000 American homeowners that were under default. That was just the number, because in any market, you're still going to have people that are defaulted across the nation. They anticipated the statistics that by the time we went into the pandemic, there was about 1.6 million homes or homeowners that went into the forbearance program. Now, understand that the banks did not report for 18 months. So we do not know what those numbers truly are. They're estimated numbers right now. Well, now with the moratorium having lifted as of September 30th, the banks can start reporting. So they can start reporting as of October 1st, but I highly doubt that the first reporting of a 30-day late is going to happen on October 1st. What you're going to start seeing is that they're going to start getting everyone under, a lot of these people, a lot of the homeowners that went under forbearance settled. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you are technically under a forbearance program in default. What has to happen is whatever that balance is of those unpaid mortgages, you have to settle that with the bank before they can technically reinstate you. So understand that there's going to be a flood of people now that they have to make the mortgage payments that are going to be in line to try and figure out what was that forbearance program. And so what a lot of you don't understand is that it still isn't clear to a lot of the Americans. A lot of people are just under the general basis that, oh, it's just going to get tacked on to the very end. But that's not always going to be the case. And so that's why I'm here to talk about what you guys need to know. If you were in forbearance, in some cases, you just probably took one mortgage payment off, right? In other cases, you made whatever payment you can. In other cases, you went 18 months without making a payment. So let's just take, for example, on average, if your mortgage was $3,500 times 18 months, now you are $63,000 in, like I said, in mortgages unpaid. Now you're going to have to figure out where that 63,000 is going to be, or what your what was I going to say? You have to understand with your particular lender where that 63,000 and how it's supposed to get paid. Now, if it gets tacked onto the back end, you got to get all the paperwork done so then you can officially be reinstated. But if not, I'm just telling you, not all forbearances are going to be that way. There might be some instances where they will ask you to pay a portion of that up front before they can reinstate you and you can continue to make mortgage payments. So that's why I'm saying the numbers right now, we still don't know. But like I said, Mark, they estimated about 1.6 million families that went into forbearance program. Also understand though too, how many at the height of the pandemic were under unemployment? 50 million.
Right.
So we don't know, again, if those numbers are accurate. We won't know until everyone starts reporting those numbers, or all the banks start reporting those numbers.
So right now it's 1.7 million, as you know, as you've
1.6, roughly 1.6.
Is that nationwide or just Southern California market?
It's nationwide right now.
So that's
and
just the numbers they're reporting.
I'm sorry?
That is just the raw numbers they're reporting nationwide.
Raw numbers that they were estimating and reporting.
So the FDIC is probably working with the banks right now to figure out where everybody stands.
Correct. And so, let me just give you an example. I knew someone that went under forbearance, and I told that person to call. I think it was right before September 30th. And she was in this person in particular was in a good situation where she just didn't make a few payments, or she had a reduced mortgage payment.
Sure.
But when she called in, she was, I told her to specifically ask where she stood, where her forbearance program was, and like how she could get reinstated to continue making her mortgage payments. Now they told her to call back on the 16th. Now understand, what you and I have been talking about offline is the
Right.
whole, the United States has a debt ceiling they have to raise a debt ceiling. The debt ceiling has to be raised. I think the last date was October 18.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. So
So both parties need to come together and raise the debt ceiling so they can fund the capital for the federal government.
Correct. What I genuinely suspect is that a lot of these lenders know they're using these next 3 weeks to get everything intact.
And then it'll hit the news eventually. Probably, what do you think, 30, 60 days, they'll start hitting the news outlets about what's happening for the end of the year, you think?
Yeah, or even sooner. Like we just talked about, JP Morgan Chase, what was that, last Thursday or Friday?
Yep, I remember that.
Is that Jamie Dimon?
Jamie Dimon, right.
CEO of JP Morgan Chase said that they are anticipating defaults. So
does that mean catastrophe real estate wise at that they give a default, you think, or are they underplaying it right now? Just keep everybody at nerves calm, because we're dealing with COVID-19 and the variants of COVID-19, the Delta, the Mu, whatever else is there. Do you think they're trying to keep a calmness and they don't want to scare the American people? Is that what you think might be going on too?
Well, the thing is that was pretty big. I mean, when you're talking about the big banks, it's Chase, Bank of America, and Wells. For him to come out on CNN and start talking something that big, that's already big. They're already making a statement. Now, what those numbers are in particular, only they'll know. You know what I mean? Only they will know. But I think it was big enough that it was big enough that he went on CNN to start reporting that.
Okay, Lisa, say I'm a buyer. I think you're oh, there you are. You're back to normal on live. Say I'm a buyer and I want to buy in Southern California or anywhere else in the country. As a real estate agent, to me, let's say I'm a veteran, I have my own home in Oregon, and let's say I want to buy another property, for example. Should I buy now in Southern California in your market, or would you advise a buyer to wait to see how this washes itself out?
Well, okay, so here's what we've been always talking about. Of course, let me just tell everyone in the audience, right? When you're talking, a lot of people say, okay, in this market that just happened when real estate was high, I encourage a lot of my buyers to wait only because of how competitive the market was. I knew their sales price. We're in California. Our average sales price of homes are $800,000. I knew it was high. And I'm not saying that I knew that the market was going to plummet. I knew that with the way that it was going, it was still going to eventually need to correct itself, especially also me knowing that I'm watching where these where the forbearance, if Biden's administration was going to extend forbearance again, right? But just imagine the banks took, in essence, they didn't take 18 months of payments for a lot of those people who stayed in the program. So here's what I want to tell everyone in real estate. There is always a buyer for every market. So what ended up triggering this really hot market was interest rates were low. So a lot of borrowers qualified for sales prices that they wouldn't necessarily qualify for, which brought their sales price up. Now, what happens is when there's more inventory and it becomes that in essence was a seller's market, right? There was low inventory, interest rates, and people wanted to take advantage of those low interest rates and then also get themselves into a home that they wouldn't necessarily be able to, the sales price that they would be able to afford. But there's a lot that goes on with that because people were driving up the prices again. For most people that understand what the market was like, and I'm pretty sure this is the case in most 50 states, everyone was overbidding. And here in California, they were overbidding. And then on top of that, they were releasing contingencies like appraisal contingencies. So the buyer was basically saying, in essence, if the house doesn't appraise for this, I am going to come in with my own monies to suffice the difference of of what the house was not appraised for. And that's what drove up real estate prices in the last year. And it's the same thing that we saw in 2006. People were overbidding and releasing all these contingencies. But we needed to, the government, or the people in office needed to create more consumer confidence, so that's why they kept the interest rates low. Now when you're asking about should I wait and buy a house, now there's going to be a buyer and seller for every market. If you choose to wait, there's going to be more inventory, but as you know, interest rates are rising right now, so it all levels off in some way. It's just like I said, are you going to get the really good deals? Are you, what's your position? Are you buying a second home? Does this need to be your primary home? Do you need to move? Everyone has different factors. But what I was saying is we are only in the onset of truly understanding what those numbers are. Now let me give you an example. In Orange County, California, here where I live, I was surprised to see, I was looking for, so what I have is I needed to get down to the niche market. So my niche market would be distressed homeowners. And if I wanted to be a resource and reach out to them, and they were in a position to probably sell their home, or need additional resources in navigating where they needed to go, I was looking for people with notice of default. So that means they are past 90 days overdue. It's called a notice of default. It is a recorded document with the banks. They send that out, and from that point forward, if you do not take action, so that's whether it's a loan modification, there's different options under the pre-foreclosure. They do not take action within 90 days, their house, they get what you call a notice of trustee sale, and their house, and it depends, going state to state, will depend, that is their final notification before their house goes into auction or foreclosure. So at that point, what I'm saying is they have, they're in that case, they have very few options at that point. They're either one, trying to modify, two, they're trying to probably see if it, they're trying to negotiate everything with the bank. But what they have again, what they're working against is time. And also with time, depending on where the market is shifting, they're going to lose equity. Right now, most Americans have equity in their home. That's what's different from the last market. That's why I'm saying it's time is of the essence for a lot of these sellers or these people in distress situations, because they have to think, whether they want to stay in the house and then, get up to date with their payments and then stay in it, or should they offload, take whatever equity they have, and then just start from there.
So a smarter move from a consumer perspective is to cash out, take the equity out when you have it, and then have that cash on hand for when, if the market does correct, foreclosures hit, and you have millions and millions of foreclosure hitting the market, and you can compete with the big banks and the hedge funds out there that are buying against you and underbidding you. Have that cash as a down payment for another property if you want to invest. But you don't think you would want to invest now because interest rates are going up. When interest rates go up, equities drop. Is that correct? I've heard that from many, many people.
Well, it seems like the natural thing, right? So interest rates go up. That means, like in most cases, what you see happening in residential real estate is it becomes more of a buyer's market because there's now more to choose from, but the prices are generally a little bit lower. So do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You almost, depending on what your need is at the time. That's why I'm saying everyone's situation is very individual. You have to be asking yourself, are you buying a second home? Are you selling your primary home and using this equity to roll over? Now what I'm saying is, in most cases here, especially in California, a lot of these homeowners are sitting on equity because of how hot the market, hot the market was. So do you sell even if you don't want to let go and take some money, or are you in a position where you let, if the market goes down and the prices go down, are you in a situation now where you're considered a short sale, where technically the bank is taking less than what the money is owed, and you're literally just walking away from the bank? That's why I'm saying time is of the essence, where if there's equity, you have to make a decision as a homeowner. Is it best for you to just take your losses? And when I say losses, it could just mean like you're letting go of the home, but you're at least walking away with some monies, if that becomes the case, while there's still equity. Once there's more inventory On the market, there's more competition. Then what happens? Depending on how desperate the homeowner is, they'll start lowering their prices to offload their home. It's, you know what I mean? It's a cycle that always repeats itself. Now, I'm not going to say real estate's going to plummet, because real estate has always been tried and true. But what I'm saying is, we are coming upon those times now where there's going to be an influx of people that are trying to go to the banks, trying and figure out what their forbearance programs are, and even understand if they are the programs that they were promised in the beginning. Right? Everyone was under the impression, don't make the mortgage payment, we're under distress and all this kind of stuff. It'll just get tacked on to the very end. Only people that come from the distressed industry and have worked on the insides of the banks understand where that really stands. There's lots of different types of non-performing assets inside the banks, and they're categorized. They're categorized as, like pre-foreclosure, loan modifications, default services, all kinds of different categories. And this is what I was talking to you with you about, Mark, offline. Once you start figuring out a direction, well, with an influx of so many people trying to negotiate everything, if you decide to go one route, get ready, because that's another, it's another department. You're going to go down loan modification. Do you qualify under the terms and conditions under that lender's guidelines? It's not a standard for everyone. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they have their portfolio. They understand what they need to make. They're given instructions to their asset managers. This is where we are. These are the calculations. Not everyone has a mortgage with Bank of America. So that's why I'm saying it would behoove you, for any of the homeowners who did go under forbearance, start your process early already. Understand where you're at so you can navigate, because once the volume of people start calling in to negotiate their forbearances, it's going to get harder to get through to the banks. It's not going to be, I don't think, like 2008. But what I'm saying is you can navigate through this much better if you plan correctly.
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, say I'm a homeowner in Southern California and I want to do a bunch of investing. I want to take my capital equity out of my house and buy other properties. And I'm thinking, from my perspective, I'm going to be competing against Blackstone, foreign investors, because we know Southern California, it's been known that people from overseas have been getting different statuses by the government for spending money in the U.S. and buying properties. And I don't want to say what different nationalities have been doing that, but you come charter buses and drive around Riverside, Inland Empire, and buy up homes by the hundreds. And I think that's probably being started up here soon. And you got Blackstone, they're buying up single family homes across the country right now as we speak. And even I was attending a Grant Cardone free masterclass just to check it out. I was curious what he has to say, because he has Cardone Capital. Much respect to Grant Cardone for what he's doing. He's helping a lot of people understand the real estate market. And he said the other day, the real estate market is starting to soften. And when he told me that, I called Liza up and said, "Hey, Liza, this is what I just heard. Holy crap. Liza, you're onto something. You've been telling everybody the story," and they say, "Oh, you're full of baloney. You don't know what you're talking about." If Grant Cardone is saying something, Lisa's saying the same thing. Maybe the banks don't want us to know, folks, of what's about to break open in 2022. Writing's on the wall.
None of the big lenders or anyone, especially on media, will ever talk about their non-performing assets.
They never will.
I think there was a joint press release between Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America, and this was prior to the mortgage moratorium ending, and maybe in the summertime. And they said 90% of their assets are performing. So if you do the calculations, 10% of their assets are non-performing to what they know. Well, remember, we're under forbearance.
Right.
That's just, and remember, back in the day, what a lot of people didn't understand is all of these large lenders were held by certain guidelines. If they were not held by certain guidelines and performances, the government had the right to take them back.
Right.
And so you do think that they are going to report on media like, hey, we got we got 20% of our assets non-performing. They're going to do everything inside of there, offload, calculate, do all these things, because they want to stay the institution that they are. And always remember, banks will never forget what you owe them, because that's what they are in business for.
To make money.
That's why they lend. They lend so that they earn on the interest rates you pay them. Now, for them to go 18 months without it, you don't think that they are going to forget?
Nope.
And not only that, when let's just say, for instance, you're 63,000, behind. I mean, like your big total in the end is 63,000. You don't think that there's just like, oh, don't worry, we'll just tack it onto the back end.
Right.
There's calculations to everything.
Good point.
There's interest paid on everything.
That's why the Blackstones are running around buying everything up they can find. And I'm sure they're working with the hedge funds, with Wells, B of A, Chase, and going, hey, what do you got? Okay, we'll give you this percentage. And sorry, consumer, but you can't pay Blackstone that kind of money. And you're not going to get the first phone call. Sorry, you're just not going to get that call.
Yeah,
You're not
just
in the
not.
know.
And I do want to note this, Mark. Like back in the day in 2008, what was really neat was like there was just they were the wealthy individuals who had millions of dollars that could go to these auction blocks and buy. What I did start to notice as time went on, everyone just started pooling their capital now. So when it was just a lot of these individual investors that were going to the auction blocks in 2008 to 2013 and just buying up these little things, these little investors have become bigger investors and pooled their capital with bigger investors. It's just real estate has just become so creative now in the way people buy. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on a podcast called The Note Closers with Scott Carson, in case Scott decides to, seize this. But he buys distressed notes. They're non-performing assets, but he goes directly to some of the lenders. And so what he does is he negotiates on the back end on their distressed and non-performing assets. That is different from different non-performing assets that are like in pre-foreclosure, in foreclosure. There's so many different categories and divisions inside the bank that a lot of people don't understand. It's not like, oh, here, this one big forbearance line. Depending on who you are as the homeowner and as the borrower, they have to look at everyone as an individual situation. And depending on the information that you forward them, allows them to calculate all of that. Asset managers, underwriters, right? That's what they're there for. They evaluate the risk with you. So that's why I'm saying, yes, you are dealing with a lot of people that have risen throughout the years, whether they're, like I said, they're big capital groups. They're just pooling their monies together. And there's so many different ways to get in the real estate game. You could buy notes. You will never see the house.
Right. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? You could
I remember
flip.
back in 2008, I was working for the FDIC for some company in Southern California, and I was going from bank to bank as these FDIC officers would go to the banks to do full-blown audits. And I was there for 8 hours to make sure nobody, stuck them up at gunpoint or whatever, because they were high risk because everybody hated them because they're taking over houses and taking people's homes away from them. It was a crazy ordeal in 2008. And I think this will be a physical security opportunity for many people that own security companies like myself to provide security dealing with homeowners and the banks, because the banks will be, like, for example, Facebook just went down, I don't know how many millions of dollars a day, and they dropped. And just imagine if these foreclosures hit the market and moratorium, hits in 2022, it's going to be ugly times for a lot of people. And the physical security companies are going to be in big need to provide a sense of security to escort people to people's properties and deal with the drama, the friction of families in distress. There's going to be a lot of turmoil with this, in the risk assessment and the threat assessment part of making things more calmer in the midst of a big chaos bubble about ready to pop. So I think it's going to be a time for security to step in and support it. And I don't think there's going to be enough law enforcement officers to do it all, because law enforcement is underfunded anyway by officers. But anyway, for the audience, Liza, can people get a hold of you if they want your help in acquiring foreclosures in Southern California? How can they get a hold of you? Your website? You have a website called GoDaddy.com, right? Just kidding.
Mark's going to add a little comment. So for the audience, Mark and I have known each other. We went into podcasting at the same time. So Mark and I are really good friends, everyone. So thank you, Mark, for actually going in, and congratulations too on the success of Fearless Mindset podcast. You guys, honestly, our journey through the podcasting world, it was unbelievable. Just the things that Mark and I did to navigate. We stayed friends. We kept asking, and we just worked hard at it. We did the work. We kept getting out there, and now it's just unbelievable. Like, I feel blessed, but to anyone that wants to get a hold of me, obviously this is my YouTube channel, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me this way. But it's probably going to be easier if you reach out to me on my website, lisaflorida.com. You can go in any of the sections where you can reach out to me. You could put your email address and then what the questions that you have. I'm happy to help and provide you any resources that I come up, that I can provide you. I can give you a list of the different roads to distressed properties. If there's, like I said, loan modifications, anything specific, short sale, just any of that. If you have specific, just reach out to me on my website, lisaflorida.com. Another way to probably reach me, it might be easier to reach me on 8billionproject at gmail.com, because lisaflorida at gmail.com is just getting really inundated right now.
All
And then,
those
of course,
guys overseas wanting to donate money to your podcast.
you can always find me on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, under Liza Florida. And so that would be like the best way. And, for those of you, I mean, obviously, if we didn't have anyone here that joined us live, I know they're in light of all of the whole Facebook and Instagram going down today. I think that there were a lot of people that were starting. I think it just came back on like an hour or two before we went live.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are typically like, at, marketing or promoting their things. So if you're watching a replay of this, like, I never mentioned this yet, Mark, but I do have, and I don't know if I'm going to post it here. I might just actually post it in the description box. I have two articles. One is from the Chicago Tribune, and it talks about the numbers and what they think in foreclosure and defaults in each state. So you can go there, go down underneath your state, and start reading about what they anticipate. Another one that I'm going to add to the description box is the eviction. The eviction moratorium ended in August. That's different from the mortgage moratorium. So these were renters that could technically now, with that being lifted, get physically evicted. Now it's going to vary from state to state. So the link that I'm going to put in the description box will tell you your state laws. The reason why we don't believe that this has become a big frenzy yet, because they have started only the reporting, but they have not started the physical evictions. Now, understand, across the board, everyone was hurting. Even the big multifamily commercial investors were, because if they couldn't get rental payments from the renters, they were also in compromised positions where they couldn't make they couldn't make their big payments for their properties. So now that eviction has lifted in August, you're going to start the proceedings of actually watching people get physically evicted, and that's not going to be very good on the news.
Will that be the first of the year?
I'm sorry?
Will that be the first of the year or the end of this year?
Like I said, depending on what those states are and their state laws, like I said, it's going to be in the description box. Read it from whatever state you're watching it from. Understand what the laws are, especially if you're a renter, so then you understand. This is just the beginning of what's going to start to roll out. Like I said, there's so many different factors, Mark, right?
Domino effect.
Yeah.
I can actually foresee foreign investors coming up and buying up a lot of property. I really do.
Yeah.
More than anything. Because think about all the people that have been on unemployment, living at home, for unemployment for the last 2 years because of COVID-19. And then once those dollars start ending and they do their tax returns, what banks are going to take the risk of giving money to somebody that's not working anymore? So I think there's going to be bigger numbers hitting the country than we think.
It was a big snowball effect. And a lot of big real estate gurus were talking about it, and the experts, like, this is not good. We're printing too much money. Inflation. Your money just sitting in the bank, you're losing money right now.
They are.
Yeah, that became so real for me. I was just like, oh, what am I going to do, right? But then how do you go up against these big capital investors who can buy hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate? And then you and I were just talking about it, the latest news on Evergrande, guys. So if you guys haven't heard of Evergrande, they're considered the Chinese Lehman Brothers. They're about $330 billion in debt right now.
Wow.
They're the second largest real estate developer And what is this? I think they said 4% of their investors are like they're from outside of China, but they're talking
Right.
about doing a bailout. And we were talking about this, that they were going to only do it for their national, their foreign investors.
Wow,
So
that's pretty crazy.
it's going to be it's big, everything, especially when you have a big, like country or like a company like China. It's like when we make moves or China makes moves, these big countries make moves, it has its effects across the nation and in all industries.
Yeah. Now, here's a thought too to bring up. Everybody has been using Facebook and Instagram as their business platform. The problem is when they go under, you lose your platform because you're just renting space off their platform. And Lisa, I know you have your own personal website and your own platform. And anybody that is a security threat, a security risk to your business, if you don't have your own website and you're just going off on Instagram, and you're going on Linktree, that's connected to Instagram, that's connected to Twitter, and then all of a sudden everything goes down. If you don't have your own website, you have no business.
Well, today was a perfect example of it,
Right.
right? The whole Facebook and Instagram thing. It just made me it like I know though, like a lot of people, my colleagues, and I'm not even just talking about in real estate. Like, of course, like I do podcasts, a lot of, and you would know, Mark, you circulate the whole Clubhouse thing. Everyone right now is all about driving them into their own personal websites, because we don't know, like, I mean, what if YouTube gives out? There's a lot of people that make a living on YouTube. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that make a living on Instagram. I think today was like the first big, like,
Outage.
reality check of this is possible. Someone as big as Facebook and all
Going
those
under.
platforms can go down for almost a whole day.
I don't know. I'm hearing it was an accident internally. I'm hearing there was a cooperation mission by overseas adversaries. That these are theories. I don't know. I'm not a Facebook representative, so I'm not public relations for Facebook, so I don't know. These again are theories, but it just reinstates in my mind why you need to have your own website presence like lisaflorida.com. I have ledlowsecurity.com. If someone wants to hold me, they can go to hold me. And then you can need a designer that can design your website to where you can capture email, you can capture a phone number, and get it on a mailing list like what Liza has on her email. It's so important to have your own platform. You can actually even launch a live podcast stream or a live video streaming service off your website. And that way you're not relying on Instagram and Facebook to do your business. And that's what Americans are getting so lazy about. They're trusting Facebook 24/7 because Because we've been conditioned as Americans to hop on Instagram. Oh, it'll never go down. Oh yeah, well it went down today for 8 hours, and just think how many millions of dollars in business losses were accrued today because of Facebook outage. A lot of people lost a lot of money today. So I think that's a security issue that needs to be addressed. You need to design your own website and make sure it's designed by a great team that have a strategy of engineers that know what they're doing. Because I'm sure if it happened once, it could happen again. And I think we're too dependent on Facebook for a lot of our stuff. Everybody uses WhatsApp. I couldn't even get a hold of my partner overseas in Israel to talk to him about some stuff we're working on because WhatsApp was down. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a key importance why you need to use it like a text app. So if you capture people's phone numbers, have a backup plan if something goes down. That way you're not affected greatly like we all were affected. I couldn't even get on Facebook to do anything to check on our posting of this video show.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that definitely, Mark, thank you for bringing that up, because you and I talk about that a lot too, right? We were talking about how everyone's driving them. It would behoove you, especially if you have online businesses. This is the last 2 years, in essence, has brought on so many online business owners. Everyone's operating remotely. But everyone is heavily dependent on these platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. But it's really great to like be able to know you could drive people into your website, and then if you need to get special messaging out, you're able to do that through your website, and you'd be able to do it. Whereas I bet you a lot of people were waiting today. Even myself, I was just like, oh, I want to tell people to reach this, live stream by 5, and then by the time Facebook and Instagram went up, I was just like, oh, by the time everyone gets their posts in,
Yeah.
Like you won't see this. So hopefully, if you guys are tuning in and just watching the replay, the reason that I really wanted to do this live stream, and thank you, Mark, for actually joining and co-hosting this and asking the questions from your perspective, is because it's information that needs to come out. And like I said, 8 billion project is a mission driven, project for myself. However, I've been fortunate enough to be in this distressed market and understand. I've seen several cycles of the market, and I understand it well. I understand it from the internal side of the bank because we represented the banks during the foreclosure market, and I also understand it from a very like you know what I'm saying is I really empathize with a lot of these homeowners right now. So if I can come to you, if I can be a resource and genuinely provide you the information that I have, like I said, I'm here to do that because we are in really unprecedented times, Mark. Not only are we just trying to survive and not get COVID, here we are worrying about now making these mortgage payments and all that. It's a whole other beast. And when you're talking about security was already hard from 2008 to 2013 because you're talking about evicting people out of their homes and all this kind of stuff. How about on top of everything that we've been through in the last couple years?
Yeah, because everybody's been in a boiling pot with COVID-19, staying at home, forced mandates, can't travel, forced mandates. And then now, they're saying, get this vaccine, that vaccine. Hopefully it works. And I have friends that got the vaccine and still got the bug. And so, nothing is 100% proof. Nothing is. It's science. You cannot dictate what science is going to do. It's just, that's life. Talk to any doctor, they'll tell you that. And then now you're right. We got COVID, we got that, we had the elections, then we got COVID hit us. And then COVID hit us. Now we got the debt ceiling, federal government debt ceiling. Are they going to pay the bills? Or are they going to default? We got that problem. Now we got real estate. We're plugged in our phones 24/7, constant input, and psychologically it just drags us down. So you have all these inputting factors of negative in our heads. Yeah, I'd get sick too mentally if I heard all that.
Yeah.
Suppose,
here's another statistic. I think the number was about, we were supposed to put, I think it was $45 billion to help a lot of these renters.
Right.
Right. To provide assistance. That only about 4 to 5 has been really released.
4 to 5 million?
4 to 5 million out of the 45. So it's not making these programs or these budgets that are set aside to help some of the homeowners and renters are not making it into these homes, because I think it was, if you had a combined income of no more than $99,999, then you should have qualified for these assistance programs. Only about 4 to 5 billion has made it out of a budgeted $46 billion. So if that's, you know what I mean, there's just alarming numbers. If you look for these articles, they are out there. And that's why I'm saying I can keep providing them. I can put them on the description box, but just understand where, it would behoove you guys as the audience to just understand where you're going. And the more research that you do, you'll understand that the information is out there for you to gather and put together.
And folks, please follow Liza Florida on her YouTube channel, Liza Florida, and follow me, Mark Ledlow, on my YouTube channel. Follow Liza on her podcast. What's your podcast where they find you, Liza?
So my podcast is 8 billion. So it's spelled EIGHT billion, and it's just that. And then, of course, my website is 8billionproject.com. So I just want to do a plug-in just in case anyone watching. I do hit my 1-year anniversary next week.
Whoa, congratulations. That went fast.
I know.
Really fast.
Yeah, and I'm launching season 4 in the same week. So
you're going to be talking about real estate, right? In this next season, you're going to be all in real estate?
No, I'm glad that you I'm glad that you asked that. So another big thing is I share inspiring stories of people that are looking for their purpose. Now, there's been everyone around the world. It seemed to have sparked more, people are doing what they want to do creatively, like leaving their jobs and professions, right? So there's so many stories around the world. But interestingly enough, what I have decided to also do, and what I have been actually doing, is I have actually put in a lot of finance people and people from real estate and all facets of the industry, because I would like to provide the audience like different ways of seeing how, like I said, people are being of service to others. And I mean, I've got everything from real estate developers to people in finance and financial planning. So not only are you there here on 8 billion to hear some inspiring stories, but hopefully it does provide you also a guide of the different options and things that help you with a financial roadmap of how to navigate through these changing times.
And Lisa also has speaking engagement. You can go to her website, and she does speaking engagements as well. And you can work that out with her on, it's a pro bono, or she does a deal for you. You work that out with Lisa, but she does speaking engagement. She's going to be on the circuit, on the public circuit stage, and for a public speaking tour. She's getting ready to write a book, and she's rocking and rolling over there, taking this podcast to the next level. And so if you have money, you want to sponsor her, donate, go to her GoFundMe account on her website. Just kidding.
No, this is what happens with podcasters. We always try and throw a little,
There's a hook. There's a free gift. There's a free gift and maybe advertising.
No, thank you, Mark. But for anyone really, if there's anything that I can speak on, I can speak on real estate, you guys. And, I hope that I'm back for this next wave, just to be able to help a lot of you homeowners out there this round. It's not always easy to be in the distress market industry, because it's a lot of work. I mean, I woke up at 4:30 and I was even just mapping out. And I don't think I provided these statistics. And Mark, I will actually talk about the Fearless Mindset podcast. But just to give you guys an understanding, when I ran the numbers from the end of July till now, or actually just last week, I should say, there are over 450 notice of defaults. That means they are less than 90 days from foreclosure if they do not take action. That is different from the people that are going to come out of forbearance and start defaulting. So there's already that market that's happening. For me, I'm curious to really get to these homeowners and find out why they are in notice of default. And in some cases, I was telling Mark, I was working in one of the cities next to me I can say it because it's not like I'm in Ladera Ranch alone. I had like 8 people on my list. 2 of them already were in notice of trustee. That means that within 3 weeks they will go to
Ladera Ranch.
Ladera Ranch.
Ooh, that's a high.
It's a high. Literally, I'm like, I need to get into these people so then I can provide them resources. And some of these are in $1 million gated communities, and I'm all like,
Ladera Ranch, folks, is like the Beverly Hills of LA County.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I am utterly shocked at the numbers that are coming up right now. So
I'm right on the border of the 5, right down there up by the beach.
Yeah, Ladera Ranch. So Mission Viejo is one of the biggest master plan communities across the nation. Ladera Ranch and Mission Viejo are neighboring cities.
Right.
But I mean, beautiful, beautiful homes.
So you advise people to hold on to their money and wait for this correction to happen before they overbid something that is going to probably have a softening of the market here in the next 6 months, probably, I would think.
I would say, like, for the individual buyers who are looking to buy, like first-time home buyer, right? Or you're looking to upgrade. I would say if there's not a need to really exit your house right now, right? I would say just watch the market. Because what I'm seeing is a lot of buyers, really great buyers who qualified on paper, they have high FICO scores. They had, they'll qualify, but when you hit like a maximum sales price of, let's just say 600,000, 700,000, and you don't have that extra capital to overbid, you'll often get really discouraged because you'll lose out to people who have these outrageous, can make these outrageous offers. Whereas if you just wait a little bit, you have a nice roof over your head. You know what I mean? You can watch the market. Then when you get in, you get with your agent, or of course, if you don't have a real estate agent in Southern California, I'm happy to help you. You actually will have options where you can think clearly. Whereas I think that the frenzy of the market was just, they knew 20 people were going to look. So they already knew their strategies before even seeing the inside of the house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There were people who would submit bids before it actually, because you have, here you have coming soon on the market. So you have active and coming soon. So it's technically not active.
Right.
It's just like it's like a notification to tell the agents like, hey, this house is going to be listed. People were offering in during that status so that they would never, for some sellers to accept the offer and never to put it on active status. So they were competing less with less home buyers.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a surge of foreign investors come in 2022 because I think they know more than we know about what's happening in our own markets. And I bet something tells me you're going to see a lot of foreign money start flooding the United States in 2022. And then we have the midterm elections coming around the corner too, which tells me there's going to be a lot of opportunity for some cheap deals. And I think the Wall Street market will probably go through correction as well. Because once the interest rates start going up, usually Wall Street starts going down really quick.
Yeah. And then for all of those homeowners who did buy when the market was hot, right? You guys, Here's the thing. I'm not saying boo-hoo, you lost your money. That's not true. All you've got to do is you have to understand you have an amazing interest rate. You put good money down.
Right.
You've just got to sit in your house. Let this market ride. That's all I'm saying. So you're not, because if the market starts to correct itself and real estate prices start to level off, you didn't lose, even if you paid $50,000-$60,000. You just understand you have more equity in there because you put a bigger down. You have a great interest rate. You just sit on them. You enjoy your house for the next 5 years.
Right. Might as well.
Know what I mean?
Be smart about it. Be calculated.
Yeah, just be very smart about it. Yeah. I mean, Mark, there are still people that are still in their modifications from the last market.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Insane.
So
I have a good friend in Orange County. He just finished his remod from 2008. It took him 5 years, 10 to 15 years after 2008 to refund modification in his house with some attorneys. Mm-hmm. He had to pay like $10,000 in attorney fees just to do it.
Or like I told you, right? Banks will never forget. There are people that had first and second mortgages. They modified their loan. They didn't have to pay their second mortgage. But what happens when they sold their refinance? Oh, all of a sudden that second mortgage has to be paid off because it's on title.
Right.
I'm telling you, they will never forget what you owe them.
Never.
So
they can pull a quick one on the IRS. Good luck.
No.
Hire a good accountant and a good bookkeeper to save your rear end if you own a business. Yeah. That's the best advice I can give. Hire a CPA that can give you good financial advice on what to do, and seek a lawyer's consultation. And we're not giving you legal advice. We're not giving you CPA tax advice. That's the job of lawyers and attorneys and CPAs.
Correct. It's just, I'm here as a resource to tell you, like, hey, navigate through this. Everything's going to be in steps. But like what I'm saying, if there was a lot of people that were unemployed because of the pandemic, you can imagine, just doing, for me, at least, because I understand the market, 1.6 million is still a small number, but I'm just saying, like, let's just see where the numbers go. And I can continue to do these updates and all this kind of stuff, but it would behoove you guys to know. So like I'm saying, everyone just navigate through it well. Take the early steps and understand what your options are. But
great advice. Yeah. Sorry, folks. I think we have bad timing tonight because of the Facebook, Instagram outage. We should have known better. We should have rescheduled this.
No, we're fine. I mean, this will be great. Like, if because this is going to actually go on and get rebroadcasted. And like I said, Mark, if you're so kind enough that you would post this on Fearless Mindset podcast. But everyone, Mark's here talking about 8 million, and I just wanted to commend you, Mark, on a job well done in a year as well, or even less than that. You were the top 10 podcast in security in the United States. On top of, you were the one who delivered me the congratulations when I made top 10% in listen notes.
Yeah, you didn't.
You are right there with me. So
because I got an article from Chris Decker, who's my producer at Salescast, and he gave me an article, and I'm like, well, how the heck did they get my information? So I did some deep diving, and then I found out about an organization like Google, but for podcasts called Listen Notes. And I'm like, oh, Listen Notes is the ranking system for podcast. And then I was bored one night. And I'm like, I wonder what Lisa Florida's ranked. Like, oh crap, she's right there with me.
I was just like, I think it was a Saturday night. I'm all like, Mark, I'm sorry. I'm like, I wasn't able to pick up, but you're all like, I just wanted to congratulate you. But no, it's been amazing. And it's all because of you guys. Like I said, like, interestingly enough, I didn't count downloads. I didn't whatchamacallit. I just really wanted to be of service to people. And hopefully I'm able to do this again in this next wave of real estate, just be a resource to everyone and, share the knowledge that I learned from my mom and working all those distressed properties. You guys, if you guys want to hear stories about foreclosures, I've got stories.
The Foreclosing Podcast by Liza Florida.
Oh,
She'll be having some good shows,
God.
good content coming up with her podcast, and I'll keep on going with the Fearless Mindset on iHeart Radio. We'll keep rocking and rolling. We got a bunch of women entrepreneurs, businesswomen. Barbara Majeski was just on, the Today Show host, and then we just had Corey Mills, CNN, Fox News contributor. He's done, I don't know, half a dozen flights over to Afghanistan, back working out deals with Taliban leaders to get people freed.
Wow.
I mean, no joke, about 100 veterans going back and forth on their own dime, paying their own way, and getting donated charter jet flights back and forth. It's just crazy what they're doing right now. So I've been really lucky. What we realized in this podcast journey is the guests make the show.
Yeah.
The platform is for the guests to tell their story. Yeah, Liza Florida is Liza Florida, and we're humble. For me, speaking for me, it's been serving my guest on my own platform to tell their story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the goal. That's what my goal is. Just been telling people's story, and it impacts people. Great. And part of it too is I'll get security contracts here and there, and just highlighting different experts in their own craft and good at what they do. And that's kind of what we're doing in the podcasting world. I know people are honed in on podcasting about, I want to get that sponsorship. But you got to pay your dues first. It doesn't happen overnight. I know I've been at it for 13 months. Lisa's right by me by a few months. And it's been, we collaborate quite a bit. We share our successes. We share our shortfalls. And don't be afraid to reach out to other podcasters and say, hey, what's your secret sauce? Because the algorithms change constantly. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that, but they got to make money in the back end on these organizations that we use our podcast on their platforms. They change the algorithms all the time. So that's what you got to be cognitive of, and you have to change your game. It's almost like a military mission. The adversary is going to try to keep taking you out because they want to make money on you. And that's how it is. That's free enterprise capitalism. That's how the United States works. So hopefully that's helpful advice to whoever is listening to this podcast, or, the information that we're giving to you guys.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. I know we're reaching an hour mark, and I just want to say thank you so much for your time. But, I was a big proponent of, like, when the pandemic hit, like, for me, this has been a deeply spiritual mission for me, 8 billion. And I would tell everyone, don't tune into media. And that's what I did. I tuned out of media. But I also understand that I am doing a podcast based on what the media is releasing. Now, understand, I think this has been out there. It's not a secret, right? Right. Each of the networks have their own agendas, and whether whoever you are in the audience, whether you sit left or right, you're Republican or Democrat, none of that really matters. What we're here to do, and you will have, because when you put your application for loan modification and all that kind of stuff, they're not going to ask you if you're Republican or Democrat. No. What we're here to do is, no matter which way you hear the media speaking, what I wanted to do was at least be a resource for you so you can navigate through your own personal situation. But also understand, yes, there are going to be big decisions made on the hierarchies in government levels and banking systems because of these raising the debt ceilings and all this kind of stuff and getting their money back. But the best thing you could do for yourself is to truly just stay educated. And, like I said, podcasters, it's become audiograms have been such a big industry because we're able to have a platform to express our voice and do it with a wide audience. So we do have, I just wanted to practice, like, civil responsibility, especially in light of this whole Facebook and Instagram thing.
Right. It's been wild. Yeah. We didn't know today would hit us. It was like Instagram went out, Facebook went out, like, oh crap. Then we go to do this 5 o'clock thing, like, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. Just roll with it.
Yeah, no, and this is going to be a rebroadcast, so you guys can watch. Like I said, all of the information will be on the description box for you to either get a hold of myself or to join Mark on the Fearless Mindset podcast. So thank you so much, Mark. Did you want to tell the audience anything?
Yeah, you can reach me at ledlowsecurity.com, or if you want to check out my podcast, it's just type in Mark Ledlow on iHeart or Apple Podcast or Amazon. Just type in my name. It's probably the best way to find me because there's a few the Fearless Mindset podcast out there. And if you want a consultation for security services, I put my ledlowsecurity.com in there. I'm on Instagram as well. Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse. There's 8,000 people in a room today. Why? Because Facebook and Instagram were down. They go, "What's going on? I can't run my business." I'm like, yeah, well, welcome back to life without social media.
Right? It's really good. I got so much done today.
Me too. I went on a 4-mile walk. It was good.
Guys, what I said, if we could have been of any help today, it helped serve its purpose. But thank you so much for tuning in. If this is a replay, and just keep following myself and Mark, and we'll keep providing updates. So thank you again for tuning in to the Liza, Florida 4th quarter residential real estate update.
Peace out.
Peace out.